All right, today we're going to start out with Logic of English. This is another amazing curriculum that I love very much and was a great success for us. I highly recommend it. The things that I have to show you today are not a complete set of anything because I've gotten rid of what we've used. So I still have the Foundations Level C of their program teacher's guide. I've got one student book to show you, and then I've got a lot of their add-ons that we used. So let's get started. This is a learning to read, learning phonograms. Eventually you learn to write with the program. Basically an English program for maybe pre-K to 4th grade, depending on where your child is. So you start out with their first book, A, learning your letters and their sounds, and then you move on through A, B, C, and D in their program, different books. You learn to write. Oh, there's writing in it too. So we'll go over that. But just so you kind of understand what this video is about and what ages it's geared for. Now it doesn't have grade levels labeled on it. So if you have a kid who is really struggling with reading and needs a complete reset, maybe needs to learn not whole language, but needs to learn phonograms and sounds of our letters better, this is a great program to use because you can start fresh without them feeling like they're in a certain grade. And you can move through it quickly. Okay, so in A was the first book, which I don't have any of except for, I believe this fun book goes with A. It's basically just like a chapter or a picture book, and it kind of introduces the letter, and then it has a fun little poem and fun pictures. To be honest, we didn't really use it. I bought it used. I'm glad I just bought it used. I also I'm ready to get rid of it. But we didn't use it very much. It just seemed kind of pointless. But maybe that's the kind of schooling you like to do. What I love about their first initial program is that not only are you learning the letter names and the letter sounds, you are learning why they say that. Now I had the two kids I worked through this program with were in speech therapy at the time. And I was telling her how in our school, we're learning why letters make the sounds they make. So it talks about, let's say S and K, and let's feel, where is your tongue placed to make those different sounds? Is it used in the back of your throat? Is your tongue behind your teeth? It talks about feeling in your mouth the letters, which they really needed to improve their speech and to say the letters correctly, and it helped so much. And it also talks about voiced and unvoiced, which helps you remember that S is unvoiced and only made with the front of your mouth, and Z is made also with your throat. So they teach you to put your hand on your throat. Z. You can do it right now. And you can feel the vibration in your throat, but when you say S, there's no vibration. And so that's unvoiced. And so it's teaching them more than just sounds. It's teaching them the why, which really helps kids to pronounce them correctly. A lot of kids really struggle if they already didn't pronounce them correctly. So that is one reason why I really love their A level. And it also teaches the beginning of handwriting. Now, they strongly believe that cursive is great for young kids to learn right from the get-go. Don't do regular print. Go straight to cursive because you don't have to pick up your pen. So that's one less thing you have to do. And because everything basically starts at the bottom. There's no remembering, where midline, top, it is all over the place in print. Start at the bottom in cursive. So I have for you here, so this is like the workbook for B that she would use where she was learning the cursive. But the big part is that you should know they have two workbooks. So you have your teacher's manual for each level, but in the workbook they have a cursive version and a print version so that you can get whatever your child needs. So they have, which is one of my other favorite parts of the curriculum, these tactile cards. Now, if you feel it, you probably can't see it, but it is rough like sand, so that they have that sensory addition into learning the letter shapes. So as you can tell, that is not a letter, But in this program, they learn letter strokes so that they can form the letter properly. So that I could say, I want you to make letter, this might be F, the beginning of F, no, whatever, my brain's not working like that right now. But I would say, make a drop hook, lead to, that's not a good one, start with the scoop and then go drop hook. And they would know, even if they couldn't remember, say what letter F in cursive looked like, they know how to make a drop hook and they know how to make a scoop, and boom, now they've made a letter. So it's a lot more fluid within the program, and the teacher's manual is one of those that tells you exactly what to say. So let's open it up and take a look. This is level C, so it's past learning how to form the letters, so we won't find any of those instructions in here. But as you can see, it tells you exactly what to say while you're teaching it. So anyone can teach this, and it makes it so much easier because it is a hefty curriculum. It's very thorough. It's a wonderful curriculum, but I'm so glad that they didn't just leave it up to you to figure out. So eventually you move from learning the strokes to learning the letters, and those are also very tactile with the sand. And it tells you exactly on the back what to say to your child so they know what strokes to use. So they learn that this is the baseline, midline, and top line, so that when you say that, they know exactly what you're talking about. That's all done in level A. And you say curve up to the top. So curve up to the top, straight to the baseline. So that's another stroke they know, straight to the baseline. And then bump up to the top line. So they know that this is a bump. Straight to the baseline, bump up to the top line, and then down. And they know that this stroke down has that little curve on it. So they can know exactly how to form it as you tell them to. And if they end up struggling, maybe after a while, they're like, oh, how do I make a Q again? You can say, oh, the part you're missing is the curve or the bump. And so that really helps them figure it out. It's wonderful. I've never seen anything like that. The trouble is that as the parent, I found that I had to work really hard to memorize it because I wasn't taught that way. So it is one of those curriculums that you get out of it, and I find this true with so many. You get out of it what you put into it. And a lot of people give up on curriculums because the parent doesn't have the time or the energy or the focus to put into it. This is one of those where you want to take those strokes and really work on memorizing it yourself. You want to make sure that you briefly look over the lesson every day. I found that that was really helpful so that I could make sure I have everything I need ready to go and the kids weren't distracted. The things you'll always need are the things part of their program, and maybe like a ball or a Nerf gun, and we'll get to that in a minute. But some of the other things in their program, I got a set of cursive and a set of print of these game cards they have. And they also come with parts to the games. And so all of their games that use these cards are based on these. You won't always need all of these. But I punched holes in them and put them on a 3-ring binder so that I could add to them as we went through our lessons. And then I would have everything I needed here and could pull them out. And you might play like memory. So I would make sure that I have a print B and a cursive B, and so they could match those up together and reinforce that they know the picture for both. And then they also have, which I don't have with me, basically the phonograms on a big card like this size. And then on the back they have how to pronounce it, and then what words it's used in case, you know, but depending on your dialect and where you are, you might pronounce, can't think of a word that's pronounced differently between different dialects, but you might have never heard of a certain way. And so they have the word there so you can kind of be helped along. And so those are really great too. That's why we didn't use our The Good and the Beautiful phonogram cards, because we had our Logic of English ones that we use. So those are elsewhere. So the other great thing about this curriculum, besides that the way it teaches you to say the letters and say the sounds, is that it does so through games, which I had no idea. Logic of English as a title sounds super boring, right? It is full of games every single day. Oh my goodness, I love it so much for that. So in the beginning of a lesson, you'll find a quick overview. So that's important to look over just to see what you're going to be doing today. And then it usually starts with the new phonogram that you're learning for that day. It might go over how to say it, when to say it, again, exactly what you need to say. And then here it'll tell you what you need. And it'll tell you right here is the symbol for knowing that I need to go to 94.1 in the student workbook, and they're going to have some kind of workbook page in there to do. All full of bright colors. Again, this is not the same level as the teacher guide I'm showing you, but all full of bright colors and fun things to do. There's often some cutting and pasting, but not too much to where you're feeling overwhelmed. Just enough to make it entertaining. But once you get past a little bit of hard work, they throw in a game, which is so fun. And there's usually a way to make it a challenge. And then if it's something that usually a kid might struggle with, maybe a sound that a lot of kids struggle with, there'll be some hints of how to make it easier. Oh, here, a teacher tip, which is wonderful. And then it'll always have exactly what you need to go grab to make that game possible. So this particular one is pennies, raisins, or a small item. And it's the bingo game. And my kids loved the bingo game. All the way through the program, they've loved the bingo game because I did it for both of them at the same time. So they usually have 2 cards in case you do have a few kids that are different. And then you would say the sound, and if they had that, then they have to try and make bingo. So then the winner gets to eat whatever they had, and we usually play a few times. So they love that, and they love the extra treat. And then you might do some spelling, a little bit more work after the game, and you can do it in any order you want if you want to end with the game. Sometimes I do. With the spelling, it always tells you what to say, and sometimes it even gives you extra words to say. I don't think this is a lesson that has that. Here we go. So for the word open, it's going to tell you exactly how to teach that. It might be something that's a new instruction. So that's a 2-syllable word. So it might tell you exactly how to help them identify that it's 2 syllables and why O says it's long sound, things like that. So everything you need is just all right here. I also love the way they teach you to recognize syllables and words, which can be really complicated for kids. Most programs teach clapping open, or they might teach here open, but that can be very subjective when you get to long words, and again, depending on pronunciation. So what they teach, and I love, and I've found very little error in it, is humming. So you close your mouth and say the word, I hummed twice, 2 syllables. Photographic, 4 syllables. So it just, to me, it's, especially when they get old enough to really count well, it was solid. So much better to do humming. So that's a teacher tip that's free. So what else? Oh, and then at the very end is where they'll focus on writing. So in the younger grades, that's where it would turn to your handwriting, and you would grab your workbook and work through those strokes, and it kind of talks to you about that. As they get older, it talks about writing more as in sentence and paragraph structure. It moves very slowly and gently. Sometimes people coming from more structured schools find that difficult. They're anxious to get their kids writing, but really slow and gentle is so much better for them. Help kids enjoy learning. So it's just a really solid, great program. So for us, we did A and B, and we loved it. But towards the end of B is when I started really noticing the good and the beautiful that we've talked about before, and noticing that it was a more comprehensive program. So it had geography and it had art, which my daughter is very artistic. And I just felt like, gosh, she would really super enjoy that. We're enjoying this, we love the games, but she would really enjoy that. So I went ahead and bought that, but I had already bought C for the Logic of English. So then I thought, well, if she's in level 2 of the Good and the Beautiful and C for Logic of English, she's in the same levels, I decided to go ahead and compare them. So I went through the beginning index of each, and I found the lessons that compared. So if she was going to learn WOR in the Good and the Beautiful and in Logic of English, I typed up a whole schedule of, okay, we're gonna first do it in Logic of English. I felt like its initial instruction was a lot more clear. And so we would learn it first in Logic of English, play the fun games, and then we would go to The Good and the Beautiful the following day and review that same phonogram, relearn it with them in their unique way. And it was excellent. And they went from choppy reading to wonderfully reading by the end of the year. So we had a really great year combining the two, made the year a little bit longer. These aren't necessarily full year each book. They can be done a lot faster. So it didn't add too much to our year. And I really feel like it gave them a full solid finish up, get that reading down program. So that's exactly what I did. You don't have to, it's probably overkill, but for us, we just love both programs so much, it worked. So they also have, which we cut out this year since we were doing so much in the Good and the Beautiful, but they have every so often it tells you when to read a book. And it bases in level C your writing instruction on this. So you learn to summarize, you learn to pick out important points. So it's really helping them move towards being able to write well. And so what else haven't I talked about for this program? We haven't done D. I might add D into level 3 for The Good and the Beautiful, just for kicks. I probably won't get the workbook, but we just love both programs so much. It's hard to say goodbye to one and graduate from it. They do have, Logic of English has foundations, so it helps really lay a foundation for a positive elementary experience. And then they move on to Essentials. And their Essentials program, I've heard, is very intense, very strong, very good, but we're not looking for something that intense. It really just doesn't appeal to me. I want there to be a lot more life and joy in our learning, and from what I've read from reviews, the games part of this falls off, and you just get a lot more intense learning, and that's just not the direction we want our schooling to head. So we have that freedom to pick what we want and what works for us, so that's always great. So if you have any questions about the Logic of English, feel free to let me know. But I think that's it. It's a great program. Oh, I will say also that it's great for learning to read. I hear a lot of people with preschoolers and kindergartners who love the appeal of The Good and the Beautiful say that they actually found this was better for teaching reading in books A and B, and then after B they move on to The Good and the Beautiful once their kids have that reading down. So, you know, it's always flexible. You can obviously go back and forth between all of them, but solid program. Great choice. Thanks, guys.